Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brian Gutreiter, account manager with Flat Earth Networking here in balmy Indianapolis. Now you say, wait a minute, it's 28 degrees. How can it be balmy? Well, yeah, compared to zero, below zero with wind chills of -15 to -20, feels pretty nice, but I'm sure, like me, the rest of you are ready for spring. I know can't come quick enough, but we really appreciate everyone joining us today, whether you're here in Indianapolis or on the live stream. We appreciate you taking your time to invest in learning and growing as a cybersecurity community, and it's really your involvement and your engagement that makes it worthwhile for us. So our agenda today is I'm going to take just a minute to introduce Flat Earth Networking for those of you who don't know who we are. And then we'll move on to our primary presentation with Dr. Brian, and that'll go for about 30 minutes or so. And there's also a special demonstration in the middle of that as well that'll be really cool. And then at the end we'll have a Q&A session, about 15 minutes or so. So especially for those of you on the live stream, make sure you're using the Q&A chat to put your questions in, and we'll make sure and get that answered. So Flat Earth Networking, for those of you who don't know who we are, we're a cybersecurity consultancy, been in business 28 years. And our real focus is to understand what your business needs are and then work with your team and your technology to identify any gaps and strengthen your overall cybersecurity program. We offer services in the area of strategy, also compliance, whether it's for insurance policy or whether it's for laws like HIPAA, or maybe cybersecurity frameworks like CMMC or NIST or something like that. And then lastly, we offer operational excellence through cybersecurity engineering and cybersecurity operations. So our door is always open. If you ever have questions, we're happy to be of service in any way we can. All right, so now let's move on to the main event here. We have Dr. Brian Zuhl and his assistant, and I apologize, what's your name again?
Yeji.
Yeji, and his research assistant, Yeji, who has a really cool demo for us later. And Brian is Purdue University's clinical assistant professor of practice and a lecturer, has a real passion for cybersecurity, and has been involved in this area for over 15 years, has industry certifications like CISSP, CEH, Security Plus, and as a particular area of focus for Brian has been cloud security, ethical hacking, cybersecurity incident management, and of course AI, which is what we're here to learn about today, is AI and how it's impacting phishing. So with that, I'll turn it over to Brian. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Brian. Easy to remember that name, right? When you get the same name, kind of hard to say, hey, what's your name? You've got the same name, so. All right, so like I said, my name is Brian Zuhl. If anybody remembers the original Ghostbusters movie, you may remember Zuhl from that movie. Parents used to say that so many times. They were so happy when that came out because they didn't have to spell their name so much anymore. But I always like the Bill Murray Zooly, Zooly, Zooly quote on there. Like to have that for my ringtone. Just to remind in case I didn't remember my own last name. So yeah, today we got about 30 minutes together. So we're going to talk about how generative AI is really impacting phishing. And what I want to get through this, as you go through, we'll go through a lot of this material. You're going to hear a lot of facts, a lot of figures. What's going to be really staggering is the ease at which anybody can really use generative AI and make a very convincing phishing email or a phishing campaign. And something that we may have thought of 15 years ago as somebody with an advanced degree or a group of people putting in a lot of effort. Could just be somebody sitting in their basement, 5 minutes, and they're bored. So that's what we'll go back over at the end and show you just how easy a lot of this stuff is and taking a look at that. Let's take a look at kind of the overview of what we're going to talk about, a few things today. So the increased sophistication. You're going to see me start off with one of the classic examples of phishing emails from probably about 20 years ago. And then by the end of this, you're going to see what is a much more modern example. And you're going to see how much the sophistication overall has increased in the past few years. Personalization at scale. This is where AI really excels, is to be able to write an email that is targeted at this individual user, but do that 100,000, 200,000 times with scale, with speed, and to really be able to excel at doing that. We also have an impersonation. So how easy is it to fake somebody's voice? You may out there, you may be thinking, you've seen those videos, the fake videos of presidents speaking or something else happening, and then you have to start wondering, is this real or not real? How hard is that really to create overall? Does it take a lot of time? Does it take a lot of effort? We'll show you a quick demo and show you really how quick and easy that can be. Then automation, so getting through all of that. Social engineering improvements overall, we'll talk about some of the newer strategies and how that's played out. What I really want to focus on, especially with this group, is ways that you can help mitigate this and how you can help train your users in the end, because it really is about that, training those end users and mitigating the overall impact. And then how do you prepare your employees? So a little bit else about me. Like Brian said, I've worked in IT or higher ed for about 20 years now. So I've worked everywhere from the help desk growing up. When I was in college, worked at help desk, got to understand users, got to understand the fun parts of resetting passwords back in the day, right, and how to interact with users. Worked my way up, was director of IT for a college, worked in networking, worked in a lot of different places, which kind of led me to cybersecurity in general, because in cyber, you can't really just be one area. We got to be a lot of different things. We can't just be that one thing. I do have a PhD in educational technology, which is commonly known as instructional design. So how do we transmit information online faster so that people retain the information longer? I've designed and delivered cybersecurity certificate courses. So I work with the likes of CISB, CEH, Security Plus, all that. I am certified by all those bodies to deliver their courses. I work with them about improving the courses and helping them to deliver that as well. When I first got to Purdue, we taught a lot of industry folks. So I didn't do the traditional undergrad lectures. We worked directly with large corporations worldwide. And a lot of these corporations, like I said, they are worldwide. So we got a lot of exposure into what was really happening. Started this in 2019. So right at the start of COVID, we got a crash course in that. I kind of feel like I got another PhD just going through all of that and going through there. From there, I moved over to the educational side, the traditional education. So work now at Purdue Polytechnic, where I teach a lot of the undergraduate courses in cybersecurity. So at Polytechnic, I get the first year cybersecurity students, and I get them again at the very end. So I get them at both sides, and I get to see them that way, which is really fun. So one of the things I like to do, especially when I come to these, is kind of an icebreaker scenario. And it's always the first question, especially you here that are live, you're going to be able to figure it out. Usually the question is, hey Brian, how tall are you? So I usually just ask, how tall do you all think I am? Any guesses in the room? How tall you think I am?
6'3".
6'3"?
6'5".
6'5"?
6'6".
Okay, I got 6'3" to 6'6". Okay, I got this official height from Mayo Clinic last summer. I am 6 feet 9 inches tall. So that's flat-footed, nothing else. I didn't cheat. I wasn't trying to do anything else. I'm 6 feet 9 inches tall. So I'm getting a little bit older. I used to, the local doctors had me at 6'10". Mayo gave me 6'9". I'm okay. Not lacking in the height. So with me today, though, is a graduate student. Her name is Yeji Kim. And Yeji has a little bit of introduction as well. So I'd like to hand it over to her and let her do an intro.
Great. Hello, everyone. My name is Yeji, as Dr. Zul has mentioned. And it's a little short bio about me. So I got my Bachelor of Science degree in cybersecurity from Purdue University. And I'm currently pursuing a Master of Science degree in Computer and Information Technology, again, at Purdue University. I used to work as an IT security operator, which is something similar to a SOC analyst, if any of you guys are familiar with that term. So it's essentially blue teaming. Does anybody know what blue teaming and red teaming is?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad that you guys are aware. Okay. So I was working in that job as an undergrad, but now I am working as a teaching assistant under Dr. Zul, with a focus on offensive security. And I have GFAC, GSEC, GC certifications, and here's a little LinkedIn link my LinkedIn, and if a QR code makes things easier for you guys, I just put it in there for everybody's convenience. And I
What sort of malware does that launch?
Well, if we told you that, it wouldn't be any fun, right?
I mean,
Maybe don't use your phone. Maybe use somebody else's phone to click that.
yeah, I mean, or you can just type in the link if that makes things easier for you.
And hey, I would tell you it's a clean link, but do you trust me? You just met me 5 minutes ago, so it's totally clean. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started on our presentation for today. And, as always, kind of want to start off with a few facts and figures overall to see what we're talking about here. So, when we're investigating this, cybercrime in general, what's the big motivational factor behind it? It's always going to be money, right? If there's got to be money in it for the actors, or they're not going to want to do it. Well, how much money are you talking about? Cybercrime in general, and that's a general cybercrime, not just phishing. But they're talking about 9.5 trillion in 2024. Huge amount of number, and they project it to be up to 10.5 trillion in 2025. And I do cite my sources here because we're academics, so I like to cite my sources. 1.2% of all emails sent in 2024 contained something malicious. Either it was a malicious link, or that actually contains the malicious file in it, or they were trying to phish or do something else like that. So break that down even further. Approximately 3.4 billion emails a day are some sort of attack, a malicious intent, something else. They're trying to do something bad and they're attacking us. All this is coming to say is that it's not just the occasional email that we're getting. Maybe our end users see 1 or 2 a day in their email account. Hopefully they don't, but maybe they do. We're seeing billions of emails every day. So this is a huge, huge issue and a huge problem. So what happens if one of these are successful overall? On average, about $4.88 million is the overall bill. It really depends on how they are compromised, who gets compromised, what data gets compromised, that sort of thing. But if we had to average it out, you're looking a little under $5 million per incident. So I talked about increasing sophistication, and what I talked about in the very beginning was I'm going to show like the classic example here. Anybody remember the Nigerian prince emails from, maybe the 90s or a little bit before then? And basically, I went back and found one. Dear sir, I am a prince, and we blurred some things out for privacy, from Nigeria. Your help would be very much appreciated. I want to transfer all of my fortune outside if Nigeria due to a frozen account. You see, it's a little bit harder for me to read due to the grammar in there, and I got to take a minute and kind of not process it. But you can see classic thing, send me some money, I'm a prince in Nigeria, I will help you out later on. And we're going to try and entice them. And this was sent out all the time back. I can remember it when I was young, seeing that sort of email come through, and we obviously knew we're not going to send that sort of money, but some people did. They sent it out because it worked, and it kept going because it worked. There are still versions of this email out there today, and they are still working on people. So it has evolved, it is still around, but this was an early example of phishing. So when we're talking about historical traits in social engineering and phishing emails, we're talking about a few different things. A Nigerian prince, you're going to assume that person's maybe a wealthy individual. So you do them a favor, maybe they're going to reward you with a lot of money or a title or something else. You're going to do something in it for you. You're going to have a way to make the recipient feel good about whatever they're doing. You're helping somebody out. They're in trouble. You're here to help them. You did good for the day. They're playing on your emotions right there. And that's another thing they're going to talk about. They're going to have some sort of appealing backstory usually. The prince that's, somebody's at an airport and they're lost, and somehow they had access to the email in the 90s, which, we didn't all have iPhones back then, so they had to go to a computer, get access to their email. But you had some sort of backstory. It could have been that sort of backstory. It could have been a sad backstory. It was designed to get you feeling something so that you'd be able to do it. And then also, and finally, and this is the big key today, is a sense of urgency. So if they can get you to act quickly, you tend not to fully think about the full situation there. And that's something we see all the time today. So it's something we'll talk about a little bit later on, but acting in a quick manner. The importance overall of putting pressure on a victim to act quickly. So the use of AI, artificial intelligence, or the large language models, allowing for cyber criminals, what they're able to do now is they're able to go out and research you. And I'm going to talk about this a lot more in depth very soon, but they're able to go out and find, hey, maybe you are a part of a society that wants to protect animals from cruelty. And they will then craft an email that says, hey, if you help donate right here, you help do this, you're helping protect animals from cruelty. And that email may go out to you, it may go out to a bunch of other people they find that are similar to you, but a lot more specified towards you and a lot more specific towards you than the Nigerian prince email that went out to everybody. A few more facts and figures though. In 2023, terminology that was used most in social engineering were payment, order, invoice, and purchases. Money. So it's all coming down to money. All those terms were the four most popular terms being used. The schemes that were most likely to be used. Number one was Dropbox. So they were trying to use things that they knew people used. Everybody has probably at least heard of the Dropbox program. Maybe they have it, maybe they don't. Do we have any IT sysadmins in the room? No? Good. Means I can get away with, I got one that kind of had a hand up. Okay. I'm not talking about IT sysadmins here. No. We all know those sysadmins probably don't want us using a public Dropbox. They probably want us using the Dropbox that they have secured and spend a lot of time, money, and effort into making sure are secure. But we do know that employees can sometimes just take the easier routes, right? And they'll sign up for their personal Dropbox because to them, Dropbox is Dropbox. Second most popular thing, banks. So banks in general. There wasn't one specific bank. It was a number of banks. So you'd get an email crafted and it would say something to the lines of, your account's been compromised. Click here right now to save your password because we don't want somebody else logging in. Of course, that gets your emotions going, right? That plays on that emotion of if I don't click right now, all of my money's gone, and so I'm gonna click. I got all of my life savings there that's gonna be gone. That's a big deal. So that really hits individuals. And even if you're trained not to do that, people still fall for that because it's different when it's you that's involved. And then finally, one that's really on the rise is DocuSign. Yeah. So e-signing anything, you can get a lot of those documents that have some sort of, embedded malware or something else, easy to sign. Couple that, and you think these attacks are not just going to be one-sided anymore. We're not just going to send you a DocuSign link. We're going to go on and find out that you're on LinkedIn and you have that little green thing that says open to work. So I'm going to find that and I'm going to see, I bet you've been applying to jobs. I bet if I can go and find which jobs you've been applying to, I can then send a fake job offer via DocuSign. Send that link out. Super easy to do with AI these days. We get all these things that go out and scrape the information for us, crafts the email. We don't even have to interact with it. Some other facts. Back 2022, and I went through, if anybody hasn't looked through these, Proofpoint, the human factor reports. These are pretty good reports that show a lot of data overall. They send it out every year, so the past couple of slides have been from the 2022 and 2023 reports. Managers only made up about 10% of the overall population when we're talking about IT and targets overall, but yet 50% of the risk comes with managers. So that's a really enticing target for people. If you're 50% of the overall risk because you have access to a lot of data, they're going to target you. So that's when we start talking about spear phishing and those really crafted emails. Malicious URLs were 3 to 4 times more common than malicious attachments. So I'm going to ask the room, why do you think that is? Malicious URL, so I just put in a link in this phishing email instead of attaching the Word document. Anybody want to take a guess as to why? Just in general.
Direct you to a site where they can scrape credentials.
Could direct you to a site, certainly.
Most of the ones we see, they try to fake our Office 365 line.
Yeah. Now, let's walk through the scenario though. So, yeah, so this happened in 2022, 2023 is when it came out. So IT admins have been knowingly getting all of these, let's say Word documents or PDFs, as part of their email. So if you're an IT admin, you're probably going to step up something on your side that would probably start scanning for this stuff, right? And you'd have some sort of AV, hopefully, that starts scanning these and blocking them before they get to your end users. That's going to be your line of defense. So if you're an attacker, okay, they took that route away from me. I'm just going to send them a link to a website I control, and then I don't have to worry about their AV scanning. So one way to go around it there. So you started seeing a lot more prevalent. They're going to send you to a link rather than the attachment. I'm already, okay. And I got to really speed up, so I apologize. Bigger issues started being toads, or telephone-oriented attacks. And these are far more prevalent now. So we work a lot with FBI folks, and that was what they were seeing as well. These attacks are becoming far more complex than just sending a simple email and somebody clicks a phishing link and logs in. So even if they do that anymore, there's going to be security measures on the other side. Your bank's not just going to say, we're going to transfer out $100,000. They're going to turn around and call you and do something else. So this is where we start talking about a lot more sophistication in that, and I'm going to kind of skip through some of it because I want to get to the part where I show how sophisticated things are and how it's a multifaceted attack right now. So the other thing, what I said they're going to do, they're going to call you. And attackers right now, your phones anymore, people don't just call you on the phone anymore, right? You know, if you're in a large office, you usually have Teams, you have Slack, you have some sort of instant messaging. And if they can compromise that, that's what they're going to look at. So you're going to Teams message somebody, you're going to Teams message your boss, and you're going to maybe call them or do something like that. So attackers now will then go and they will try to work their way around that. So what I want to take you to next, sorry, I'm kind of skipping through this. Can we somehow get this to these folks later on in case they do want to see things? If you do want to look through this later on, IBM has created what they call their 5 and 5 rule for how to create these sort of things, how to prompt your AI, what the 5 questions are. So I actually made an agent that did this and used these 5 questions. It comes out scarily good, I will tell you that. And it gets around a lot of the protections, even that modern AIs tried to implement against these. So what we did for today was we talked about the next step and creating things. Super easy to attack somebody's voice. And you may not think like, oh, it's just a voice or whatever else. Yeji is going to show you how quickly that can be done and how easily that can be done to do that, and then what might happen if your voice was attacked. So, take it.
Right, so I prepared a little audio deepfake demo. So, does everybody here know what a robocall is? Okay. So, the scenario is basically, I receive a phone call and it's just silent, right? I pick it up and I say, hello, who's there, whatever, and the other person don't say anything. Just that the attacker is actually recording my voice. And the attacker uses my recorded audio to clone my voice and then call the bank to transfer $50 from one account to another, presumably from my account to the attacker's account. So this is a little transcript of what the clone voice is going to say. And I'm going to play the sample now. So this is basically me receiving the phone call. Oh. Can I? Oh, wait. Give me a second. Why isn't it? Oh, there you go.
Hello? Is anybody there? Hello?
So yeah, that's all it took for me to generate this clone voice, and note how this is only like 5 seconds.
Could everybody hear that in the back? Pretty standard stuff, right? Hello? Anybody there? Hello. And that's all she said. And this is what comes out of the training model.
Hi, I would like to wire $50 from my bank account to another account that I own. My account number is 312948567, and the account number that I want to wire it to is 798614325.
So for me to generate this clone voice, I did have to make a free account, but it's free. I didn't have to pay for anything. It didn't require any technical knowledge from my side. I just had to go to a website, make an account, and just input my voice. And this generated my voice in a matter of seconds. So we can notice that all the pronounced numbers in the clone voice is just one by one. So it's like 3, 1, 2, 9, 4, 8, 5, 6, 7 instead of just 3 at a time. Like 3, 1, 2, 9, 4, 8, 5, 6, 7, because that's how a lot of humans would speak. But that's one way to catch that this is AI. And if you know me personally, you'll be able to tell that this is a clone voice and this is most likely a deepfake. But if you were to be a bank account, if you were to be working in a bank and if you were to receive this phone call, then it's very likely for them to be phished like that. I'm gonna redirect it to Dr. Zoll.
Did you look at deep fake videos?
Oh,
If you have 15 minutes of a video of somebody, you can,
yeah,
yeah, we did that with our CEO.
it's scarily easy.
Now, one of the things Yeji and I were talking about on the way down here, though, it's kind of, if you know the person, like if you knew Yeji, you'd kind of question that. Like you heard her speaking and then you hear the AI voice, it's a little different. If somebody has an accent, it doesn't quite get that. If somebody has a tendency to say words differently, it doesn't quite get that. So there's a few ways to catch it, but overall, if we're the attackers, I'm not going to target the bank that I know she goes to all the time. I'm going to target the next bank over that may not know her as well. Maybe they met her once 6 months ago and they've had 100 other clients since then. They're just going to go ahead and process that. So super, super easy to do. And you can see how that could be done at scale right there. You get a bunch of recordings, you just train your AI, go through all that, and then you get a bunch of outputs. So let's talk about prevention and mitigation in general. I just recently had the Purdue training, literally on Monday of this week. I have changed the text a little bit, so anybody at Purdue that's going to yell at me later on, I didn't use your exact copy. But something similar like this, and this is something you'd see everywhere. You're an employee, you get an email from your boss, it says, hey, I want you to wire transfer things. It doesn't sound quite right. What do you do next? And what do we train our employees to do? Well, we train them usually to do a different method and contact your boss. But if you were calling, and if we already had the attack set up to where we had the voice cloned, doesn't matter. You just called your boss. That happened last year, 2024. It was in China. It was, they didn't disclose the name of the company, but somebody who got that email, their CFO, I believe, was in England or something. They were in a different country, and it didn't sound right to the employee. So the employee says, okay, let's hop on a conference call. They hop on the call with the people they think are the CFO, the CEO, and all these other things. Their voices have been spoofed, and they've been wired out $26 million. So that's one example of that happening. And it's overall not a sophisticated attack. It's just a multiple prong attack. So you put these things together, super effective. So what might you do to defense and just try to get against a lot of these things? Anti-phishing solutions, obviously, but you're going to look for some that are actually using AI now. Use AI to fight AI. And what it does is it recognizes the tendencies and techniques of other AI-generated content. So if there's an email that comes through, it can do that. You can also set it up to where it will investigate that email of whether it's likely a spam email or whether it's not. Benefit to this being you could set that up as an investigation and it just goes through the process. It takes about 10 minutes then on average for a lot of these to just determine, hey, there's a high likelihood this is not a phishing email, and then give it on to your customer or whatever else. You only wasted 10 minutes of time. So that's pretty big. You could do advanced email filtering, although we already implement this a lot in a lot of areas. Deploying context-based detection, so being able to understand what the context is of the conversation. But what I usually concentrate on is the end user training itself. So what I would like to see from people and what I would highly recommend is to develop different kinds of training. The example I showed you is a general training that all employees get at a company that has tens of thousands of employees. You really should be training because your IT department faces a much different phishing scenario than your HR department, than any other departments do. So you should be developing that sort of education based off the user and not off anything else. And that's really what we would suggest overall. You know, once your attack gets to that layer, your last defense are the people themselves, and it's how good you train them. The problem that we also see is, you know, what do we do right now is we do phishing simulations where if the user clicks on it, they got to go to their training for the year, right? But users, they get so frustrated with this on the inside because we send that out. I don't know how many times your company sends it out, but some companies send it out even up to weekly. And they'll send it out on holidays, they'll send it out every other time, and your end users get so fatigued by this that they just start clicking, or they ignore everything, or they move it to somewhere else where they're not being watched. So just being able to work on that with your employees is another big deal. I see my time is up for today, so I will go ahead and say we'll wrap it for right now. Are there any questions from the online or any questions in person? Anything you're asking about what we're seeing?
So we received a question about sample size on the deepfake for audio. Does it increase the accuracy with a larger sample size of actual audio, of real audio?
Is the question asking if the accuracy would increase if there's more sample
Correct.
provided? Oh yeah, that's true. That is definitely true.
10 minutes of audio, you can get inflection, you can get accent replicated better.
Yeah. And if you were to be a public figure, well, I'm not really a public figure, so there's no really audios of me speaking in public. But if you were to be a public figure, like a politician or something like that, then it would be very easy to impersonate you because there's so many samples they can just grab on from.
I personally have called my bank and said don't accept any verbal transfers from me. I have to go in person to the bank to do it. And that's the only way they'll accept it because, you know, I have lectures online that anybody could just go out and train in AI. And I would say the same thing with creating a phishing email. The more data that we can scrape in about you and find out, you know, what's the conference you just went to? And then, oh, hey, I just met you at this conference. If you got a lot of people at a conference, you may not remember everybody you met. Hey, we just talked about this product at this conference, and I came across this really cool thing. Why don't you check it out? You're probably more likely to click on that because we had more data about you. Are there any other questions?
I've just got another one online. Are there any comments regarding the recent Microsoft report looking at AI tools for red teaming?
Can you give me a little bit more on, was that just the general?
That's what I've got.
So we do have a lot of people, and I have a few contacts that are on the various teams there with Microsoft. They are doing things that are about to be coming out that are staggeringly amazing. Think about this. So part of what we had to skip was some of the facts and figures. One of the facts was it's about a 4,000% increase in these phishing emails since ChatGPT became available to the mass. That was late 2022. You know, 2 years. 4,000% increase in the amount of attacks that we're seeing. So what we're going to see in the next couple of years is going to be another increase like that, and it's going to be even more sophisticated, and it's going to be even faster. So yes, we are definitely looking into like PyTorch and a few other things like that of how to attack these as well.
I got a question.
Yes.
So you talk about the importance of employee training. Are there some good employee training resources that you've seen out there that you might recommend?
There are many great resources out there. It's how you implement them with your company and make sure that it really fits their needs. That would be what I would say. Because each company is so different that, I'm sorry, did I cover the mic, Greg? Okay. Each company is so different in their needs. IT, like I deal a lot with healthcare as well when I was doing a lot of work with that. That would be a totally different training company. I wouldn't even use the same company for the most part. And I'm sorry to all the company reps that I know out there, I would use different ones for different areas. So it would be very based off your area.
So you might, for example, do a totally different training for the executives.
Oh.
They're going to be the biggest targets.
Yeah, absolutely you would. And you'd also, you'd have to have that talk as an IT leader in that area of, does your CEO, and no offense to any CEOs in the room, do they really need access to all the things that they have access to? You might want to look at that as well, in addition to that, because that's why they're the target, if they have that much access.
What are your personal thoughts on TikTok and other social media tools as entry points for cyber attacks?
So I'd ask for a little bit of clarification. So like allowing them on company devices or allowing them on personal devices and then dealer's choice?
Personal thoughts? What do you?
My personal thoughts? There's so many. I think TikTok, although it does have a lot of its own issues, Facebook Messenger has a lot too. And I'm not trying to pick on Facebook Messenger. There's so many other areas. There's just so many ways that we can get into and attack. The attack surface is so big right now that if you wanted to start at one place and look at it, okay, look at TikTok, but don't overlook other ones and assume you're safe because you banned one and you're not as safe as you think you are.
Will there be any restriction on reverse shell scripts on AI? Because I remember when ChatGPT came in, anybody could get the reverse shell script and put it embedded in the email and hack anyone's email. Like, will there be any kind of government regulations or on that side?
I believe I just saw that there was a presidential order that was reversing some of the AI rules. Now, I haven't looked into that. I don't know much about it. But OpenAI and a lot of the other companies really they have been making a lot of progress towards it. You can't just go out and say, give me a reverse shell. With that, though, you can prompt it 100 other ways. And if you know how to prompt it and ask about it, you can get to what you need to get to. Yep. So I don't know, even if you put out some sort of thing, I don't know how long it would take to get around it. But I can tell you that hackers are ingenious people, that they have a lot of time and a lot of effort, that they will try and get to the end. And if not, they will make their own versions. So there's ChatGPT, but there's also WormGPT. And there's a few other GPTs that take off those restrictions.
Yep.
So you can look at it a lot of different ways there. Yeah.
To echo like some of those points, if they can't get a hold of you, they target a supply chain member. So if you're protected, they often go to like somebody closest to you to get to you.
Absolutely.
We've seen that happen.
We see that in business,
Pretty common.
email compromise all the time.
Yeah. And you see it happen in government a lot too. A lot of the big business hacks recently have really been, they hacked the smaller part that had access to the big business. So,
Target.
yeah. Hackers will go after low-hanging fruit.
Or domain for it, which is usually.
Any other questions? See, we're timing it perfectly. We've got the food coming out here. Everything else is great.
All right.
No?
Thank you so much, Brian. Really appreciate you coming out today. Really appreciate it. And yes, you. Thank you. All right. So for you on the live stream and here locally, again, we just really want to express our gratitude for you being here today and being a part of this community as we all endeavor to grow and learn and improve. And again, it's your participation in this that makes it all worthwhile. And again, our door is always open. So if you have a question about cybersecurity, anything we might be able to help with, please don't hesitate to ask. We're happy to be of service in any way we can. And here's Brian's. Do you want people to be able to contact you directly?
Oh, yeah. So that's my work email, the Beazle@Purdue. I'm on LinkedIn. It's just LinkedIn/Brian-Zuhl.
Don't forget the hyphen.
Don't forget the hyphens. Got to have that. But there's not too many other Brian Zuhls, but there is a Brian Zulli at Purdue.
Great, great. Well, again, thanks so much, everybody, and hope you have a great afternoon. We'll see you again soon.